Here we are at Vespa Toronto West, and we're here bright and early, so the shop's not open. There are signs of life though, because I'm sure Lou wouldn't have left those ramps there. That Vespa and that very, very fancy ramp. So Lou's here somewhere, but I'm just going to wait until he opens the shop at 10 o'clock and hop in and pick up the parts I need. I'm calling this episode Parts Are Fun because it makes for an interesting title. Life on Two Wheels, Parts Are Fun. My Vespa looks fine, but it's got some issues. The spark plug cap came off on me on my aborted trip down to visit Steve Williams at Scooter and the Sticks. And I've since done a lot of research on modern Vespa. And what I concluded is that the high tension lead needs to be replaced. So I'm just going to pick up those two parts this morning and then head on home. And there's a lot of fun to picking up parts, especially when you're dealing with a guy like Lou at Vespa Toronto West. It's always a pleasure to see him, even though it means that there's something wrong with the bike. Hey, here's what I picked up: a new spark plug cap. So brand new. It's an NGK spark plug cap, even though it's in an official Piaggio Aprilia bag. A length of spark plug wire and a little terminal connector. You'll see that the only tool that I bought is this crimper, and the reason I had to buy a crimper is I didn't have one that could make the appropriate crimp. The key part is the spark plug, the M-shaped spark plug crimp. So it's right here. So it says auto 7 to 8 millimeter, and this is the part that gets crimped here somehow. There's another tool that I'm going to use, and calling it a tool is a little bit bizarre. In my hands it's a tool, but over here is a surgical scalpel. So here's the wire. You got to make sure that you don't inadvertently slice a finger off with this thing. And this piece gets crimped on. This is the part right here. This is the part right here that plugs into the coil at the bike. So this part you don't crimp. This is the part that gets crimped onto the wire. The conductor that you see in the core of the cable over here, and then you bend the conductor back so the conductor bends back on itself and lies against this portion of the connector, and that's how it makes its electrical connection, which is why you see this little embossed portion of the connector here. Thank God this is not someone's intestine. There. Looks like I kind of got it, right? What do you think? I think that. So the acid test is there any copper left in here? And the answer to that is no. This will fit like this, approximately. And then this gets bent back against the wire. And then this fits here. The conductor is trapped against the body of this plug. And then the next step would be to crimp this. So they get a good secure hold on this connector. But before I do that, I've got to get the existing spark plug wire off the bike, because there's a boot a rubber boot, a little bit like this rubber boot on the spark plug cap, that I've got to get off the existing wire because I don't have a new one, and I've got to fit this on before I crimp that. Otherwise, I'll be cursing like there's no tomorrow. There's the Vespa. I've taken out what's affectionately referred to as the pet carrier, which is the underseat bucket, and that reveals the engine compartment. And the spark plug is over here. You can see this. See the spark plug cap kind of sticking out. So I'm going to disconnect it up here, and then fish around, because the coil is in the footwell tunnel
Now that was a job and a half. There's the culprit, and when I touched the spark plug cap, it just kind of fell off the spark plug. So clearly that's what the issue is there. I'm guessing the coil is okay. In order to get there, I had to remove the battery and the battery pan in the bottom, and I had to disconnect all the wiring. I think I know where all that stuff goes. You can just see the coil. The coil is this piece right there, and this the spark plug just connects to the back of that. I think it's safe to leave my bike this way because nobody in their right mind is going to be able to move this any great distance, as disabled as it is. So here we go. You can see a couple of issues right along here. This is the spark plug end. Obviously it plugs into the bike kind of like this, and you can see that it was resting up against something, slowly but surely chewing right into the wire. You can see how degraded that wire is. The other thing I noticed over here, we'll see if you can see that, the insulation is completely split here at the cap, and that's also no good. And then at the other end, this is where it fits onto the coil. So I'll just move the boots back, and I'll show you. This is factory original. I'm guessing this spark plug wire was never changed. What you're seeing is a really kind of interesting crimp job. What's happened is that first of all, the crimp is not very good. I don't know if you can see this. The crimp is not very good. There's solder. Solder's been applied to the conductor onto the cap, which I suppose is not a terrible thing. It's certainly not what's indicated. Normally, the wire, which is here on this side of the cap of the connect, like it's supposed to be bent back right back here. And you can see that what's happened is they've kind of taken a little bit of a funny shortcut, but they've soldered it on. When you take a look at the cap facing you, and you compare that to the new cap, what you can see is that this cap is quite deformed. So I think they did a crappy job in the factory. So there it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to rescue these boots, and then reapply the boots to this wire. Will I be able to get this back on the bike is the $65,000 question. So I got the cap off the wire, which was really easy. You just have to kind of unscrew it. There's a screw inside the cap, and it screws into the core of the wire. That was relatively easy. It looked like it had a good connection. The question I have now is this boot that I have to see if I can get off. So there you have it. I got the boot off the cap, and when you take a look at this is the new cap, and when you take a look, I'll take this boot off. When you take a look at the new cap versus the old cap, you can see really that they're identical, and they're identical right down to their part numbers. If you take a look, I don't know if you can see into these caps. Clearly, there's quite a bit of yuck and mess on the old cap. So the rubber boot fits on the cap, and this is the new cap, and it basically grips onto this flange on the outside of the cap. So I think all I need to do is really just wrestle this on. And there's the boot on that cap. Put the new boot for the new cap onto the line here. So it requires a little bit of persuasion, as my father used to be fond of saying. But there you can see it's fitting on there, and I'm just going to work it far enough back. But like that, I think will do the trick, right? And then in here, I don't know if you can see, there's a screw. And so the new cap just screws on, and you just keep turning it until it turns no more. And then you know you got a good connection. There, I think that's on pretty good. And then the boot, and there's the cap. Now the next step is to crimp, and so this goes on. Hang on. Get the sequence right. So this goes on first, pretty snugly. There we go. And then this fits on top of there. And now the next thing to do is to crimp this connector on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend this back the way I showed you before. So now it's bent back against itself on the wire, and this fits in, see, like this, so that that wire is against the back of the connector, making a good connection to the wire.
So here's the bike. It's all put back together, and the new spark plug wire is right there, nice and shiny. No road dirt on it yet. And the wire, you can see the wire, a little bit of luck, goes down from the spark plug and heads off in the direction over there. And that's where it connects over kind of there where the coil is. And the key to getting there is you take the battery. I've got a floor rack on there, but it's screwed to the battery compartment. You take all that off, it exposes the battery compartment, and then what you need to do is you essentially I work with my left hand going in to the tunnel and gripping the connector and forcing it onto the back of the coil. I won't say it was trivial, but it was definitely doable. That worked out well. And then fishing up at the other end, finding the plug, and snapping it onto the end of the spark plug. So the beautiful thing about Vespa is, you know, all the mechanics are all enclosed. That's the good thing. The bad thing is that it's cramped quarters sometimes working in there. But give me 2 seconds and I'll show you the result of all that work. So, ignition on, and kill switch switched off, brake. Now what you're hearing is a very, very throaty Vespa. Vespas purr, they don't make this sound. So the next order of business in the next technical video is going to be removing the muffler and replacing the exhaust gasket that's messed up. All right. So that's it for this episode of Life on Two Wheels. That was a very successful project. I apologize for the quality of this video. It was my first technical video, and with a little bit of luck, they will improve hereafter. See you next time on Life on Two Wheels.